now. It's Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Gray.
Vancouver Whitecaps FC gave everyone a Christmas present on the 25th of December, but can he live up to the hype that a lot of the local media are giving him? And it's the new year. When can we see and when can we expect more news from the Vancouver Whitecaps and some new signings or some returnee signings? Daniil Henry moved from Toronto FC over to Cyprus, and he is now at West Ham in the Premier League. Good news for the Canadian soccer fans. Simon and I will discuss that. Frank Lampard signing in New York, and the newest team, New York City FC, well, it seems off right now, or at least mid-season, when Jason Kreis said earlier when the signing happened that he expected him to be in town at the start of the year for training camp. Is it on hold? Is it off? Is it just a plain old debacle? And is this the latest blemish on Major League Soccer? Steven Gerrard announced that he is on his way to the United States to play in MLS, saying he's coming to the United States. Does that immediately say the three Canadian teams have no shot of signing me? Or is everyone just talk about America as just the States? Or are we just lumped in with them? That's interesting. But LA Galaxy are the front runners right now. And a discussion about a cup of coffee later on in the program. Good evening and welcome. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk right here on CL 650 Radio in Vancouver, where we broadcast from the Barber & Co. studios. My name is Tyler Green. I'm on Twitter at TylerGreenFC. The program is Soccer Talk, Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, and the Twitter handle is Soccer Talk 650 for those of you who want to follow us on Twitter. Also available online at CIL650.com. That is CISL650.com. Thank you for listening, whether it's live or on the podcast, which you can download at that website. The first half kickoff is brought to you by Kevin O'Toole. KO, findaproperty.ca. Check out a 2-bedroom and bath in Firenze. It is just blocks away from convenient amenities and walking distance from watching the Whitecaps in action at BC Place. Find all the details at findaproperty.ca. That's Kevin O'Toole, licensed realtor with Royal LePage, Sussex, online at findaproperty.ca. We'll get into the starting 11 in just a few minutes as my co-host Simon Fudge and I will discuss the parting shots from Omar Salgado. And is Octavio Rivero destined for greatness in a Whitecaps uniform? That brings us to the Barber Poll tonight, presented by Barber & Co., barberandco.ca. Do the Whitecaps need to sign more scoring after the acquisition of Octavio Rivero? You can tweet us your thoughts with the hashtag Barber Poll on Twitter at SoccerTalk650, at TylerGreenFC, at SimonFudge74. You can also email us, SoccerTalk650@gmail.com. You can call us at 604-280-0650. And, of course, you can give us a comment on the Facebook page anytime, anywhere. Simply like the page at facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan. The Barber Poll is presented to you by Barber & Co., Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie and 18th, and on the corner of Main and 12th. Find them on Twitter at Barber & Co. Visit barberandco.ca. That's barberandco.ca. So Omar Salgado had a few parting shots about the Whitecaps, and that is something Simon and I will discuss in the starting 11, along with Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard talk as well. Germany still off on their winter break, but they'll get back into training this week for many of those teams. Italy is back at it on Monday. Some action from Spain and England. And, of course, Simon will have all the info on all of those coming up a little bit later on in the program. Right now, get into Kia Vancouver because their Boxing Day sale continues all this week with all new in-stock vehicles being sold for a toonie over dead cost, and that could be up to $10,000 in savings. Find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, online at KiaVancouver.com. Busy program, a lot to get into in the starting 11. We have some substitutes, of course, as always, in the second half of the program. But the starting 11 is coming up next as Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk and Goal.com writer Simon Fudge and I debate it. A lot of issues, 11 of them. That's next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on Sea Isle 650.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today, in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
One word makes all the difference. Trust. You can't earn it overnight. You can't put a price tag on it. Trust must be earned. Over the last 30 years, BC Furnace has built their reputation on trust. Tens of thousands of customers now recommend BC Furnace by name for installation, maintenance, and repairs, in large part to one thing: trust. BC Furnace, keeping Lower Mainland homes warm and comfortable for over 30 years.
BCFurnace.com, BC's #1 choice.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on Sea Isle 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
From Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mix 1, Spirit in the Sky. As Greg kicks off the music selection in fine form today. As we get into the starting 11 here on the program, tweet us your thoughts on the starting 11 on Twitter at Tyler Green FC. My co-host Simon Fudge, Goal.com writer as well, at Simon Fudge 74. The show, of course, is at Soccer Talk 650. You can also tweet us about the music that you've heard on the program and whether you like it or not. We'll start off on the starting 11 with number 1. Simon, how much of an embarrassment for Major League Soccer and New York's newest club with the Frank Lampard situation and Lampard staying at Manchester City for the rest of the English Premier League season, and now questions even being starting to arise about whether or not he was truly even signed by New York City FC in the first place?
I think it's a huge embarrassment for MLS and for New York City SC. The need to create a first impression for this new club as they start their inaugural season this year has never been greater, and you especially in the marketplace that they're in, that to create that first impression, it needs to be as positive as ever. And he was one of 2 players brought in by this club, along with Lampard and David Villa, that needed to be the catalyst of that first impression. This is going to raise some doubts in many people's eyes, particularly those that have bought season tickets to watch this team play out of Yankee Stadium starting this season, when they were thinking they were going to see Lampard and David Villa on the pitch in their first home game, and that's not going to be the case. They're probably not going to see him now until at least June or even July. which is not good. I think it's just terrible optics all around.
Yeah, it is. It is terrible optics. I think a lot of people were looking forward to seeing who New York City was going to play in away games, because I think a lot of, even a lot of fans here in Vancouver were probably thinking, oh, when is New York City? Are we going to play them? Are the Whitecaps going to play them in that first year? Is it going to be in New York? Is it going to be here in Vancouver at BC Place? And if it isn't at BC Place, will we get to see the likes of David Villa, Frank Lampard come to town and actually play against the Whitecaps? So I think that's, just another aspect of people being a little upset. Like you said, the over 12,000 season ticket holders probably a little unhappy that they haven't they don't get to see one of their designated players until at least probably now mid-season. If that, if Steven Gerrard rips it up for the rest of the English Premier League season, then all of a sudden do we get into a situation where Manchester City turns around and says, actually, he's staying here for the next couple of years, and maybe you don't even get to see Frank Lampard, and maybe that's, even adds to the debacle of it all, and terrible optics, like you said, and I think disappointing that these players get signed and then they're not showing up, and it's almost like it's really in the case of New York City FC, it feels a little bit like a little bit of a bait and switch. Hey, we signed Frank Lampard. It was a different guy named Frank Lampard. we got the imaging on the posters wrong.
Yeah. No, it's not good at all. Number 2, where do you think Steven Gerrard ends up in Major League Soccer, and how will he do?
Well, we talked about this a few weeks ago when we talked about whether or not he would stay at Liverpool, and I said, I get the feeling that Major League Soccer is a place to go, and I said the LA Galaxy was going to be that destination, and I still think, and that's the rumored spot, that's the sort of the top choice among most people, thinking that he's going to end up in LA. And I would have to think that David Beckham said, hey, LA is a great place, you gotta end up playing there. Obviously would have played with Robbie Keane at some point in his career, so knows somebody at least there, probably knows a couple of the guys anyway. So I think the LA Galaxy is where he's going to end up, and how he will do, I think he'll probably fare okay. I think that Steven Gerrard is a player that, still at his age, I think still can get around the field well enough, and he's a player that, isn't going to wow you with, 10 goals a game, etc. He's not one of those guys that is a prolific goal scorer by the stretch. He's a midfielder, and he's a very good midfielder, but he'll go stretches without scoring a goal. He'll score some beauties, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to be a goal a game type player. I think a lot like David Beckham in that regard is, yeah, he's going to be good. He's not going to be one of those players that is highlight reel material week in, week out for Major League Soccer highlights because he scored some brilliant goals. He's not that player, but I think he's going to do a lot for the Galaxy, and I think he's going to do fairly well in MLS play.
Well, obviously, if the reports are true, I think he's, as you say, I think he'll end up with the LA Galaxy. I think he will be moderately successful when he is here playing in MLS. I do wonder if his body will stand up to the physical rigors of what is MLS and the soccer that's played in MLS on the pitch. There was an interesting point made when I was listening to radio from the UK today about the physicality of this league, MLS, and if he's actually that well suited at this point in time in his career to be able to play in that. Being that he's obviously now on the downturn as a professional player, you also have to consider into consideration for a lot of these players who've never done it before, the amount of traveling distances that they're going to have to deal with, getting from A to B and whatnot. That's something that we've seen with players that have come from Europe and come over here. they have not adjusted to before. There were a few players here in terms of guys like Barry Robson and Kenny Miller that have, needed to adjust to that, and he's going to have to do the same thing. And so it's going to be interesting to see. I think he'll do some good things, but I'm not going to go out of my way to say that it's going to be spectacular. I'm going to say moderately successful is probably the best way to look at it at this point in time.
The next question is obviously as a big name player comes to town, and I guess you could mention this about Kaká. Steven Gerrard obviously is the focus of this, but Frank Lampard. Will we see these guys at BC Place Stadium?
Yes, I think so. Because much like Robbie Keane, who's not ever turned away from playing at BC Place when he's ever been available for the Galaxy, even though he's obviously very clearly stated that he's not ever been terribly happily play on that playing surface, that turf. The thing that Robbie Keane and Steven Gerrard share is a real desire to play, and so much so that I think Steven Gerrard will overlook what the playing surface is like here in Seattle, in Portland, in New England, and I think even with the Citrus Bowl in Orlando as well, I think it's turf as well. They'll overlook that and they will play on the surface because they want to play. And if you think about his decision to leave Liverpool today, it was driven by the fact that his playing time at Liverpool was about to be reduced by Brendan Rodgers, and he wants to go somewhere to play. So if it means that in order to play games with his new team, be it the Galaxy or whoever it is in MLS, that he's got to come up here and play the Whitecaps in Vancouver on turf, I think he's more than likely going to do that, and so I would expect him to appear and play here in Vancouver.
You are correct, by the way. AstroTurf at the Citrus Bowl in Orlando. And you know what? The other thing, too, is I could see Gerrard not playing in games like Orlando or New England if he is an LA Galaxy member because it's out of conference. But if he is, if he's a member of the LA Galaxy, I can see him playing against Vancouver because those are important games. Those in-conference games are going to be very key, very important, and those are the type of games that you need these guys to go in and play and be at their best because, a win or a loss and not playing a game against an opponent that could knock you out of the playoffs because you finished with 1 point ahead of them in the standings is pretty big. So I think that is going to be a major factor as to whether or not he plays at BC Place Stadium. And the other thing, too, is, like you said, he is one of those guys that I think has that driving force of wanting to play, wanting to be and compete and be one of the better players in the league and in a game. And I don't think he's going to shy away from things like the pitch at BC Place Stadium. And like you said with Robbie Keane, he's complained about it, but he still played because he knows how much it means to his club to win those games.
Number 4, does Daniil Henry's move to West Ham United today boost the credibility of the youth academies at Canada's 3 MLS clubs?
Yeah, I think, it does a little bit. It shows that the Canadian clubs have the ability to develop players, bring them forward, and get them, into playing situations. But at the same time, you look at some of the things that they've said about him at West Ham, that he needs to improve on some issues, that there are still some holes in that. And as much as they're building players to be ready for Major League Soccer, there's still that next step that they have to take. And so, I think it's a good building block, and I think it's going to get people excited. It's about what they can do and where they can find some of that talent. I think what the biggest thing that it does is that it shows, people that are, say, 14, 15, 16, what have you, that have been playing and moving through the academies, that, hey, there is potential, that by the age of 21, 22, 23 kind of thing, we could step into the main team, the first team of Toronto FC, Vancouver Whitecaps, Montreal Impact. We can play a few years in Major League Soccer and still be young enough to make a move like that and get over to England and play in the Premiership or get signed by a Premiership team. So I think that's the biggest thing. that is going to come out of this, if you want to call that the credibility of the youth academies, then yeah, I think it's going to improve that.
I think it's given a lot of credibility to the academies. If anything, it gives greater motivation, as you say, to the players that are in Whitecaps residency, TFC Academy, Impact Academy, but even the academy setups at FC Edmonton and Ottawa Fury that I think they're setting up as well, of what is possible now, because basically Daniel Henry has made it reality as by making this move today to West Ham. I think it's going to be interesting to see if Daniil Henry's move to the EPL creates a bit of a tipping point in terms of seeing more Canadians finding their way to Europe's top leagues. It might take, as you say, some time for players that will follow behind him to make those types of moves. But the fact that he has done it and it's been made just shows that it is possible. And that's all you need. If you got one player that has been able to go from where he started to where he has ended up as of today, and it's now become reality, then people, every other player that thinks they've got that chance of doing it is now going to think that they can do it as well.
Get into Kia Vancouver. Their Boxing Day sale continues all this week with all new in-stock vehicles being sold for a toonie over dead cost. That could be up to $10,000 in savings. Find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or KiaVancouver.com. Number 5 on the starting 11. In a recent interview, President Victor Montagliani of the CSA says that the CSA is moving in the right direction as an organization. Simon, do you agree?
Oh, well, if they are moving in the right direction, they are doing so at a snail's pace. For me, there remains issues regarding the antiquated structure of the Canadian Soccer Association and the credibility of its leadership within its organization. The CSA still needs to modernize from effectively the amateur sports governing body that it currently is, by its structure and by what the kind of personnel that it has there. It's got far too many people, in my opinion, that have that amateur sports administration type background, and that's all fine and good in terms of them being able to do the job that they do within that existing structure, but the existing structure doesn't work. That needs to change. Therefore, the personnel needs to change. I also have very little confidence in the CSA top brass as leaders, and I'm going to give a prime example as to why I say this. I refer back to their mishandling of the match-fixing allegations of September 2012, and how it took this organization nearly 21 months, and I wrote back in June 6th in Goal.com, 21 months for them to put a policy in place to deal with what is probably the most serious thing that affects the game right now. That is match fixing. The fact it would take them that long to deal with what I think is a red button issue should basically make one stand back if they take a careful look at it and say it's tough to have a lot of confidence that the game is being that well led here.
So what changes would you make then? You talk about changes, but what would you change?
Well, I'll be radical. I think this governing body of ours should probably be run by those that have, professional soccer backgrounds. If it has to be all foreign nationals, it has to be all foreign nationals. But their CVs are they've worked at professional clubs, or they've worked at other credible national FAs, and more than anything, they're people that you sit down with and you talk to, and within a few minutes you can see that they're leaders and they want to make a difference and they want to move things in a different direction. And if they have been working under existing structure, they're going to tear up the way it's been run and they'll start all over again. I don't get the sense with the way this organization is set up still that there's enough willingness or even enough know-how to know how to get it changed in the direction where it still needs to go, where it should be right now and where it could actually be at this point in time.
Okay, so what structure does it need to be?
It needs to be more professional.
No, but you talk about you've got to get rid of everybody. There's too many people, etc. So how does it have to be run?
Has to be run as something a little bit more business oriented, a little more goal oriented, as opposed to.
So you don't think they have any goals? They're not running it like a business at all.
I don't think they are running it like a business. The fact that they still struggle to be bringing in revenue, to still bring incredible amounts of revenue, operating revenue, and sort of using something like the Women's World Cup and hosting the Women's World Cup to be something in which they're using to try and kickstart the whole interest in the game in this country, should underline that they don't seem to have what I think amongst the people that are there that mean well, the right tools in the toolbox for me to move it in the direction that it needs to be moving into, or where it should be for me right now.
Well, I'm going to go against you on this one, and I think, there are tons of problems with the CSA, and we know this, but it's not something that I think is going to be able to be changed in a week's time. And I don't think bringing in just a whole brand new set of people is going to be the fact that, I don't think it's going to be able to change that, because like you said, it doesn't have the amount of money that it needs to go out and hire all these new people. So that's the one issue with making such a huge change in that, and you're only, getting a certain amount of money. So how are you supposed to, change that aspect without basically charging kids a bunch more money? Second thing, I think they are working in the right direction. They got the Women's World Cup. They decided they wanted to host that. They've talked about other things that they want to do. They're trying to put forth a better product and moving things around and trying to make it better with the Amway Canadian Championship. So I think they're doing things, but I think the fact that everybody seems to want change so quickly and so fast is, something that, regardless of who's in charge, is not something that's going to be able to happen with a snap of the fingers. It's going to take some time, and you can make that change and you can redevelop things, but everyone talks about like, for example, Germany. Well, they also had a massive infrastructure all set and ready to go there as well, with a lot of clubs, and yeah, they reinvested in grassroots and such, but they also had a lot of pieces in place already. Canada is really, I think, trying to take it now to that next level, and there's still a lot of building that needs to be done. It's not something that is going to be an instant change. So I think they are moving in the right direction. It's probably just not as quick as a lot of people want to have happen.
Well, and I would agree. I mean, it isn't moving, but there still remains a concern for me that could it be moving faster, and could, if there was someone different there, be able to make it move a little bit faster than it currently is. That's just the question. I don't think we are in any disagreement that it is probably heading down the right road, which is at least the good thing to see at this point. Number 6, with speculation.
Actually, Simon, we're going to take a quick time out here on the program because we're up against the break here. We'll continue that in just a moment. Simon Fudge and I, we're going to get into the Whitecaps and Octavio Rivero in just a few minutes. Plus, of course, Omar Salgado trash talking the Caps. All that coming up next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambiet 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
Wherever you're taking your team in 2015, Kia Vancouver has you covered with the best selection of award-winning vehicles like the 2014 Kia Soul and Sorento, and surprise offers on new in-stock 2014 and 2015 models. Plus, at Kia Vancouver, new Kia buyers get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking, making it easy to take your team out on the road and up in the air. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, and KiaVancouver.com.
Pain or injury slowing you down? Take it to the choice of many top athletes, Expert Physio. Serving the Lower Mainland for over 35 years, the team at Expert Physio is dedicated to individualized care with specialized services such as orthotics, acupuncture, IMS, plus dizziness, pelvic floor, and certified hand therapies. Over 300 physicians referred to Expert Physio last year, and 100% of patients surveyed said they'd choose Expert Physio again. You're in good hands with Expert Physio. Burnaby Heights or at 8 Rinks, expertphysio.ca.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Royal LePage, Sussex, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
The truth is, you just don't know what to do anymore. You worry about mom or dad being home alone. You worry if they're eating, if they're getting out, if they're lonely. Retirement Concepts is here to tell you seniors living isn't what it used to be. It's all about a balance of chef-inspired good meals, good friends, and beautiful accommodations.
Join us for a complimentary meal and personal visit. Go to retirementconcepts.com to find a retirement community close to you.
So nice to come home to. retirementconcepts.com.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Really is the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack coming from Greg Ballack tonight. Jackson 5. There's some MLS dates to remember over the next couple of weeks, brought to you by Dayton Boots at DaytonBoots.com. Simon?
Yes, and sir, we'll look at what's going on right now in Puerto Rico. They are having the MLS Caribbean Combine, which is currently going on right now until I think it's the 5th, and starting on January 9th, the MLS Combine, the main one in Florida, will take place until January 13th. That's 2 days before the MLS Super Draft, which will be Thursday, January 15th.
All right, that was the MLS scoreboard brought to you by Dayton Boots online at DaytonBoots.com. Still to come on the program today, we'll have a chat with David Sandals of Expert Physio about injuries. That's in the second half of the program at 11 p.m. You can weigh in on our Barber poll tonight. Do the Whitecaps need to sign more scoring after the acquisition of Octavio Rivero? It's one of the topics that Simon and I will discuss here very shortly. As to what the Whitecaps need to do after that signing. But you can weigh in on the Barber poll at Tyler Green FC, at Simon Fudge 74, at Soccer Talk 650. We've had a few people respond to it already, and we'll mention some of those very shortly. But Simon continues now the starting 11 with number 6.
With speculation that Alberto Gilardino's family is not keen on a move to Quebec, are the Montreal Impact wasting their time in trying to lure the veteran Italian striker to Stade Saputo?
I think until, it's speculation at this point that they're not keen. That could be a stalling tactic. That could be a money issue that they just would like to have some more money and get, if you throw in an extra couple $100,000, we're in. So until he flat out says no, I don't think you're wasting your time. I think that you want to talk to any player possible about a possible move to your city. And, I think in the end, you wait till you get a no answer, and then you say, then you move on and you go from there. If you just give up the chase, a player could have been interested, and like I said, it could have been simply just a negotiation tactic and saying, I don't know if my family really wants to move to Montreal. Maybe, a couple extra $100,000 gets them interested in moving to Montreal, or maybe that's just his way of pretending that he doesn't want to come to get some more money. So, until a player flat out tells you, no, I'm not coming, I don't think you're wasting your time. I think you got to try to lure anybody and anybody you can, especially if you're of a high quality.
I got the feeling they're kind of nearing, if not already, wasting their time a little bit trying to go down this road, because I'm still having a hard time understanding why Montreal continue to see the use of trying to sign aging Italian goal scorers and how they can make a difference in MLS. It kind of, for me, and I would think for some Impact fans, or probably a good number of them, why it's a head scratcher of why this is one of the ways this club wants to kind of build itself, having obviously had some relatively decent success with Marco Di Vaio as their main striker. You would hope, for the sake of Montreal Impact fans, that Joey Saputo, Frank Klopas, Adam Brad's and company have set a deadline of some kind if this is dragging on as it might seemingly is, because they've got to figure out sooner rather than later if he is going to make the move to Quebec from China. But it's hard to say. You could very well be right. It might be a matter of just a few dollars or whatnot. I would tend to think that probably playing in Quebec would be a little bit more appealing than where he is right now in China.
Well, the other thing I look at is, until a guy says no, you try it, and hey, they had one Italian striker that did extremely well for them. So why wouldn't you try to strike gold twice from that well? Good work. You never know, right?
Well, for me, it's just a question of just not just the all eggs in one basket and letting it drag on. I think it's just making sure that they've kind of imposed their own sort of deadline of, if it's not going to work out, they move on quickly, because they don't have a lot of off-season time here to work to try and rebuild. There's a lot of rebuilding here that needs to be done at the Montreal Impact.
Number 7 on the starting 11, seemingly always linked. It continues on here. Seemingly always linked to Italian or South American players. Should the Montreal Impact look further afield for some new faces?
Yes, I think so. I'm finding their recruiting policy to be a bit predictable and limited in focus, which is tending to be looking to Italy and not just to South America, but specifically Argentina, by the way they've been recruiting in terms of players they've been bringing in from abroad. I can see at some point down the line Impact fans whose patience have been tested after this very disappointing 2014 season getting a bit tired with how they'll be sort of being asked to buy into messaging that the new Montreal signings need to, quote unquote, must fit within the culture of the club, which the Impact constantly try and talk about when it comes to bringing new faces in any capacity. What they really will want, what fans will really want, are players that can consistently compete in MLS. So it's, for them, that's what they want to see. They'll want to see something that's a difference on the pitch. So it gives me a bit of concern on behalf of the club and for supporters a little bit, that they may be kind of pigeonholing themselves a little bit by the way that they have been looking and focusing their recruitment efforts.
Well, I think, you pigeonhole yourself a little bit when you just look kind of for Italian or South American players. I think you've got to try to look around and find some of the best players around, and you need to start extending those contacts, finding some quality players from various different leagues, from various different countries, and finding some of those better players that can fit into that system and fit what you want to do and really what your goal is, and that's probably to make the playoffs and try to win MLS Cup, also obviously to win the Voyageurs Cup and make a run in Champions League. So I think you have to do that, and I think it's a simple question. You look for the best players around. If they're Italian, if the best player you find is Italian in a certain position that you're looking for, you sign him. If he's English, you try to sign him. If he's American, you try to sign him. So I think you have to, go further afield. It's probably something that they're comfortable with Italian and South American players, but I think you have to try to find the best players around.
Number 8, with Octavio Rivero signed to the Whitecaps now, what should be Carl Robinson's next transfer move?
Well, I think his next transfer move is to solidify that defense. I think they need to get out and find some more scoring that is maybe a little bit more of a consistent scorer, a proven goal scorer, especially in Major League Soccer. But I think they need to shore up that defense. Right now, they've got 2 right backs, they've got 2 left backs, and they've got 2 center backs in Kendall Waston and Christian Dean signed. They have had so much injury issues in that center back position. They need to go and strengthen that whether that's re-signing Johnny Leverone and Andy O'Brien, or whether that's bringing in somebody new, which Carl Robinson alluded that he might be doing. They need to make sure that they solidify that back line, get somebody to play with Kendall Waston. Pretty much everybody has drank the Kool-Aid and is assuming that Kendall Waston is going to be as good as he ended the season in 2014, in 2015. We are pretty much, like I said, pretty much everybody has drank the Kool-Aid. And there's a very good chance that he will be, but we don't know that. You need to have reliable depth and backup there just in case he falters and is not as good. He's as good as his first game in Major League Soccer, which wasn't that great. If he's that, then you need to have some players in there that can play in Major League Soccer and show that they can play in Major League Soccer and not just have a lot of potential anymore. They need to start signing players that we know are going to step in and be good.
Reinforcing the back line was what I thought as well, particularly if there is little likelihood, as you say, of Johnny Leatheron and or Andy O'Brien returning in 2015. The fact that their futures remain very much up in the air if they're coming back, yes, I think that's going to be the area that he needs to focus on, and I agree with you. It's hard to know if Kendall Waston will come back. We hope that he certainly will come back and put in the kinds of performance that he did put in through the latter half of last season. And there's no reason to think that many of supporters out there should feel confident that he can perform again like that when the new season starts in the spring. Beyond that, boosting the strike force with a second striker, as Carl stated he was going to try and do this offseason, would probably be the other thing that he should probably focus on if he's already got an idea of how he's going to shore up that center back positions.
Get into Kia Vancouver. Their Boxing Day sale continues all this week with all new in-stock vehicles being sold for a toonie over dead cost. That could be up to $10,000 in savings. Find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, online at KiaVancouver.com. Continuing on that, number 9, should we expect Johnny Leverone and or Andy O'Brien to re-sign for the Whitecaps this new season?
I think Johnny Leveron's going to return. I think he will sign a new contract with the club, but I'm not so sure about Andy O'Brien coming back at this stage. The fact that there's been not very much talk on that front, and also you got to remember that Carl Robinson has been, of late, through obviously having a Christmas break in Wales and whatnot, on quite a bit of an excursion and traveling through the UK and Europe in the last little while. You wonder during that current excursion if he has identified one or if not two new center-back targets during that time. So if one of the two players that has not signed up is to come back, I'm thinking it will be Johnny Leveron.
I think Johnny Leverone will be back. I think Andy O'Brien has a very good chance of coming back as well at a lower rate as a player that's could be depth player. But he did so much for, I think, some of the youngsters on that team. I think he's a player that you have to bring back. So I can see both of them, but I see him really bringing someone in to strengthen that back line and give Johnny Leverone, say, yours or this guy's. It's up to you to decide. You guys need to go and take that situation and take it under control. So I think we will see some signings very soon.
Number 10. Can Omar Salgado get his career back on track with Tigres in Mexico?
Yeah, of course he can. It can't get any worse than it has been going, and I think he will. I think he's kind of refocused. I think he feels like he has a good, solid opportunity and a chance at Tigres, and I think he is going to get his career back on track. Is he ever going to be the great player that I think a lot of people sort of pegged him to be? That, I think, is a question mark still, but I think he can get his career back on track as a player that gets to actually play games and be a useful player for, I think, a long time to come.
I think he's going to struggle at Tigres because for me, I still think he lacks the maturity to and the discipline to get his head down and do the things he needs to do to fight his place, to get his place in the first team, which was something which we really needed to see him do when he was here in Vancouver and which he needed to do if he was going to get more playing time here with the Whitecaps. And I think at the end of the day, he didn't put enough of that effort in, and it ended up seeing him move on. For arguably, he's gone to a tougher league to play in Liga MX than from MLS to try and get his career back on track. So, to me, the club he's also joined, it's a Mexico City-based club with a good amount of profile, a little bit more of a difficult league. Culturally, it might be a little bit better of a fit for him, being that he's obviously a Mexican-American and he'll be playing in Mexico. But I just feel the odds have been just stacked that just a little bit more against him, and I wonder for what he expected to have been able to do here, and how it didn't come about. If he's going to basically, we'll see the same frustrations from him, because he'll end up not getting the amount of playing time that he thinks he's entitled to get when he's at Tigres.
Finally, number 11 on the starting 11, in an interview with Ivis Galarcep of Goal.com, Salgado, he fired a few parting shots at the Whitecaps. Does that underline his need to mature if he is to fulfill his potential as a player?
Yes, absolutely. Though it has occurred before, it's never a good idea. The fact that players have left parting shots to clubs that they've left, and we've seen it happen in the past, it'll happen again. It's never a good idea to take a parting shot at your former club. And what Salgado needs to understand is that no matter how sour of a spell his time here in Vancouver was, airing your dirty laundry like he did to my Goal.com colleague Ivis Galarcep is something that's going to reflect poorly on him. For me, good clubs, if he actually goes to Tigres and does well, and there's some higher profile clubs, well-run clubs look at him, they'll probably make notes of such things. Because, it's as much about the mentality of a player than just his actual playing ability that goes a long, long way to him being able to go on and do bigger, better things.
I think he's matured, and I think if you look at all of his answers in that interview, he's answering quite honestly. People know what the issues were and the problems were, and I think him trying to hide the fact that there were some problems would have shown a lot more immaturity than saying, yeah, I felt like I should have gotten more playing time. I felt like I should have did this or that. But he also talks about how it has helped him grow as a player and showing that he does need to address those situations better. So if you read all of the quotes, I think that he was fairly mature in that interview, and I think that he is maturing as a player, and he realizes that he has made some mistakes in the past, and he's excited about getting another opportunity and a second chance to prove himself moving forward. So, I don't think that he's still a bit of a spoiled brat, but at the same time, I think he has learned quite a lot during his time here in Vancouver. So I don't begrudge him for his comments to Ivis at all.
It made for a good interview, to say the least, didn't it? So,
well, that wraps up the starting 11. A quick break, and back with the latest news, notes, and rumors from around the globe.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Vancouver Street Soccer League is the beautiful game at its finest. Teams of men and women who are homeless, have recently been homeless, or are at risk for homelessness get together to train and play matches. It's great fun that builds skill and confidence, and the league sent players to 4 consecutive Homeless World Cups in Milan, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, Mexico City, and Poland. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today, in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
Wherever you're taking your team in 2015, Kia Vancouver has you covered with the best selection of award-winning vehicles like the 2014 Kia Soul and Sorento, and surprise offers on new in-stock 2014 and 2015 models. Plus, at Kia Vancouver, new Kia buyers get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking, making it easy to take your team out on the road and up in the air. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, and KiaVancouver.com.
Welcome to our planet. Planet Bingo, the only place in the lower mainland with full-time continuous bingo. With electronic and traditional paper bingo. Play for fun and out-of-this-world jackpots. Join the Players Club, the Power Player program, and receive $5 in free play. Plus, you're supporting over 30 charities. So come find your place and make our planet your planet. Open every day, Main and 11th in Vancouver. PlanetBingo.ca. Must be 19 plus to play. If you gamble, use your game sense.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Headlines from around the globe in just a second, but first, our England scoreboard. Simon?
The English FA Cup third round was on today, and there were some notable results. Blythe Spartans came very close to knocking off League Championship side Birmingham City, but fell 3-2 at home. The All-EPL clash was won by Leicester City over Newcastle United 1-0. League One Preston North End beat Norwich City of Championship 2-0. Rochdale won Nottingham Forest now, another League One side beating a Championship side. Swansea City easily beating Tranmere Rovers of League Two 6-2. And Tony Pulis' first game in charge, a 7-0 win over non-league Gateshead at the Hawthorns. 11 EPL clubs play tomorrow in the FA Cup. The notable games are Dover Athletic against Crystal Palace, Stoke City against Wrexham, and Yeovil Town against Manchester United. On Monday, Burnley will play Spurs, and League Two at Wimbledon, AFC Wimbledon, will play Liverpool. On Tuesday, Everton will play West Ham United.
All right, let's check the latest headlines from around the globe, taking a look at the news, notes, and rumors from around the globe. It's brought to you by Steve Nash Sports Clubs. That's SNClubs.com. Manchester United is probably going to be one of the teams that is in every single rumor this January. And just a few of them include that Manchester United are set to make bids for Borussia Dortmund's Mats Hummels and Schalke's Benedikt Houdis to strengthen their defense. Both players, of course, on the World Cup winning German side. Bayern Munich is also going to attempt to persuade Arjen Robben to turn down a move to Manchester United by offering the Dutch winger a new deal in excess of the $325,000 a week contract he signed last year. I'd like to make that in like over a 5-year stretch. I would be very happy with that.
So would I.
Elsewhere, Everton are ready to sell midfielder Ross Barkley for about £45 million. They're looking to fund an overhaul of Roberto Martinez's squad. Manchester City, the team most oft rumored to be interested in signing the English international. Another Everton note, as we'll discuss in the second half of the program coming up very shortly. And it's a good one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is.
All right, get into Kia Vancouver. Their Boxing Day sale continues all this week with all new in-stock vehicles being sold for a toonie over dead cost. That could be up to $10,000 in savings. You can find them at 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon or online at KiaVancouver.com. Barber poll today. Do the Whitecaps need to sign more scoring after the acquisition of Octavio Rivero? A few mentioning something in the On Twitter at Soccer Talk 650, Hab Mariner saying, cannot rely on one true striker. We always need a second option or injury replacement. A skilled winger would do as well. Max Mussolini saying, yes, Rivero unproven. Maddox, Hurtado, and Mane have been inconsistent. Taigi Maida, yes, the number of games to be played this season unless the other forwards are able to contribute consistently. Got to kind of figure that out before the season starts, though. Otherwise, July is when you've got to make that change.
I think so. And still, with much doubt over if Darren Maddox is going to be part of things or not, and you're going to be trading him or moving him on, that's potentially one less player in the strike force. So you've got to, I think there's moves there need to be made to shore up the strike force.
Esmer Milevich saying they should. It is time to start scoring more and playing more playoff games next season. I would take a playoff home game.
So would I.
I think a lot of people would just take at least start with one playoff home game. But yeah, more playoff games would be fantastic. And yeah, they have, it's that thing. They've got that guy, Octavio Rivero is another guy that has it's the key word, potential. Can he do it? It's something that Simon and I will discuss in the second half of the program. And coming up, the substitutes make their appearance into the program as Simon and I will dive into the poll question. And where do the Caps need to shore up their team? We talked about the defense, but where else? Plus, Simon and I get into a discussion about Rivero's output. Where do we see it ending up in 2015? And can he be successful in 2015? What will he actually do in a Whitecaps uniform? And are the Caps planning something big? And how does that fit into their budget? All that in the second half of the program. And, of course, David Sandals talks injury. That's in just a moment.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
Wherever you're taking your team in 2015, Kia Vancouver has you covered with the best selection of award-winning vehicles like the 2014 Kia Soul and Sorento, and surprise offers on new in-stock 2014 and 2015 models. Plus, at Kia Vancouver, new Kia buyers get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking, making it easy to take your team out on the road and up in the air. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, and KiaVancouver.com.
Pain or injury slowing you down? Take it to the choice of many top athletes, Expert Physio. Serving the Lower Mainland for over 35 years, the team at Expert Physio is dedicated to individualized care with specialized services such as orthotics, acupuncture, IMS, plus dizziness, pelvic floor, and certified hand therapies. Over 300 physicians referred to Expert Physio last year, and 100% of patients surveyed said they'd choose Expert Physio again. You're in good hands with Expert Physio. Burnaby Heights or at 8 Rinks, expertphysio.ca.
What kind of love transforms lives and heals minds and bodies? Is it the love that comes from God? How can we experience this love more and live it actively in our day-to-day lives? Find out about this regenerating love and the healing that it can bring on the next radio edition of the Christian Science Sentinel.
Listen for the Christian Science Sentinel, Sunday mornings at 8:30 on CIL 650.
With a trip on the horizon, make sure to pack your personality with UBU Earth travel wear from Fashion Edition 14 Plus. Canadian made with all natural fibers. UBU gets your need to be comfortable. This season's must-have, soft bamboo leggings. A perfect travel made. The wrinkles just fall right out. Exciting styles that embrace your shape and curves. Plus sizes with freedom, movement, and attitude. Celebrate your curves while you travel with UBU Earth from Fashion Edition 14 Plus in Vancouver, Langley, and South Surrey.
This is CISL Vancouver. Smooth and easy.